Previously on U-Boat. Luckily, Mikoyan from our group speaks fluent English. He invites us downstairs. We will never harm a person not directly involved. They still continue to ignore us, so unfortunately, they must be sunk, and a short while later, the ship sinks quickly. Although I'm not too concerned about danger because the Portuguese are generally friendly. The captain of the freighter seemed more annoyed than aggressive, so I decided to take him at his word. And before the crew had even a chance to abandon, the ship went down in less than a minute. A short while later, we received a transmission from HQ stating that a crucial technology had been loaded onto a freighter ship and must be sunk at all costs. We were given the coordinates and headed to the location. The only thing is, it's part of a gigantic convoy, and we are the only U-boat in the area. Commander's log, Uboat 552, 1100 hours, 24th of March 1941. We have received intelligence reports from BDU stating that a high priority target will be transiting our sector as part of a large convoy sometime in the next 3 or 4 hours. Our objective is to interdict this vessel, preventing it from reaching port in the United States, while still attending to our main objective to sink at least 7,000 tons of Allied shipping. We moved the boat into an intercept position, directly ahead of the convoy, with smoke visible at 1400 hours. Normally we would sink a convoy and assess the risks, possibly even radio BDU for further support. The convoy consisted of a large number of ships, with the exact number and composition unknown. We submerged and coaled battle stations. My plan was to let the convoy pass over us, attacking as many individual ships as we can. My hope is to fool any escorts present into thinking there are more U-boats in the area than we actually have. By maintaining position in the center of the convoy, we will have ample time and opportunities to identify our target and sink her. Judging by the amount of smoke on the horizon, we expect to encounter at least 40 ships. I expect to use every bit of ammunition that we have on the boat to cause maximum damage, so every single torpedo has been pre-warmed. Despite not guaranteeing a kill, we will only use 1 torpedo per ship. Any ships that are damaged will eventually slow down and be crippled. We can then pick them off later with a deck gun or search them with the crew. Final visual inspection of the convoy revealed all of the ships to be either US or UK merchant ships. To simulate a multiple U-boat attack, we have targeted the 2 lead ships on the northern edge of the convoy. Target Bravo will receive a fast-running torp. Target Alpha will receive a slow-running torp. Both will run at 4 meters depth with a magnetic fuse. And assuming they're on target, they should strike within 20 seconds of each other. With the first fish in the water, we flood tube 2, make sure the settings are correct, and we wait for the ready. Thank you, Mr. Tom Los. So as predicted, our first torpedo will pass across the bow of target Alpha, and the second will hit home. So target Alpha has been hit, and we've still got our first torpedo traveling. She's taking evasive action, but I think that's due to the recent explosion. And this is why we wanted to fish in the water already. 2 hits. Okay, so we've got the tubes loaded for the 3rd torpedo. We're going to send it under the same settings because this ship is coming at us bow on. Magnetic fuse. Los. Not more than 10 seconds after the torpedo left the tube, the boat was hit by a violent shockwave, throwing the crew across their stations and nearly deafening the hydrophone operator. Our 3rd torpedo had run hot and prematurely detonated, nearly a catastrophic event. Recovering our sensors, we sent another fish, this time with an impact detonator, to make sure we finished off the target, snapping the bow completely off the ship. With no sign of our target yet, we continue to take shots across every transport that crosses our bow, like this Empire camp. Both engineers were ordered to the torpedo rooms to keep the torpedoes loading and heating. This increases our chances of a detonation dramatically. Waiting for her to be almost 90 degrees across our bow, and we take the shot. Serious damage. And a gigantic gaping hole. It's safe to say she won't go anywhere. But she's also not sinking. Anything that survives we'll save till the end for the guns. But not to be predictable, we need to load the rear tube and fire at someone else. Rear tube fish away. She's zigzagging, but takes a hit directly to the stern, setting a major fire. The Empire camp is listing hard, but she's also an armed transport, so we need to be careful. Next target is the Empire Mermaid, an NA freighter that will pull up behind our stern, so she's going to get our final rear torpedo. In the meantime, because there's lots of traffic, I'm going to pull in behind the Empire camp so we don't inadvertently get run down by a freighter that is zigzagging to avoid us. As far as we can tell, they don't know we're here. Due to our positioning, the entire convoy has basically washed over the top of us, right in the center. But there is still a major mass further to the south. With the final torpedo solution set for the Empire Mermaid, we are just waiting on the engineering team to heat the torpedo. Once complete, flood it and send it. Full speed. Another brutal hit to the stern. As this isn't our first engagement of the patrol, we are running low on torpedoes, sending our fourth last towards a freighter that is about to cross our bow. We're also getting to the rear end of the convoy, with no visual sighting of our target, the Empire gunner. As there is quite a large mass to the south, I'm going to launch a long-range torpedo with the hopes of hitting one down there. No sooner had I spoken that the Empire gunner shows himself. Seems to be an armed transport. So for now we'll still send one torpedo. I like to keep a spare, just in case of emergencies. Again, another hit to the stern, damaging the machinery room. The long-range torpedo that I fired before manages to find a different target within the massive ships, although we're not sure which one it was. So our priority target, the Empire gunner, has taken significant damage but is not yet sinking. So what I will do is try and ward off any other potential warships and make sure that the convoy has left. And then I will circle back and gun them down. Second to last torpedo, we actually have one left in the storeroom. It just hasn't been loaded yet.
40 Sekunden bis Torpedoeinschlag. Treffer. Treffer.
And we have a final hit.
Schwere Schäden.
Good work, lads.
Schwere Schäden am Rumpf.
Very serious fire on the Empire Manor. I doubt that she'll survive this one. Once I'm certain that there are no warships coming back to save anybody, it's time to surface and man the main guns. Lucky Stan taking the lead here as our gunner, with Tom Tank and Jacob as his assistants. It only takes a few armor-piercing shells through the bridge before she sinks. Mission completed. Ironically, as the gunner goes underneath the waves, we receive a request from BDU to assist in a Wolfpack attack that's about to commence on this convoy. We graciously let BDU know that we didn't need to participate in the Wolfpack attack because we are the Wolfpack. Taking down so far 8 ships. Soon to be 9. Klug was on the radio for quite some time trying to translate my message into something that BDU would actually accept. At some point it looks like the fleet started to split and a section of it headed south. No doubt to a different destination. So we gave chase because there were a few damaged ships that didn't quite go down. So we send the last torpedo. Unfortunately, it was a dud. So again, surfacing the ship and getting Tom Tank, Jacob and Lucky Stan back onto the gun to lay some fire down on these last transports that were straggling. I manned the MG-42 and the other team took the 88. Things were looking great. But the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry, and a 3-inch shell slammed into the bow of the ship, the concussive force throwing both Jacob and Tom Tank off the 88. Jacob was thrown back into the conning tower, Tom Tank was thrown into the water. What was left of him anyway. I ordered the men to bring Jacob downstairs and administer first aid. We had taken minor damage to the hull, and the engineering team got to work straight away on repairing the hull. Visibly shocked at the death of Tom Tank and the injury to Jacob, the rest of the crew huddled around in anticipation, waiting for news on Jacob's health.
Erledigt. Schaden repariert.
Fortunately, Jacob seemed to be of strong stamina, and it was only a concussive wound. I conferred with the first watch officer and we both agreed that it wouldn't be prudent to stop the chase now and let Tom Tank's death be in vain. Ensuring that the ship was still in good condition, once the engineering team had given their green light, we recommenced the chase. The ship's crew resolved to finish the fight in Tom's name. Taking only a few minutes to re-catch up with the convoy, Jacob was the first man out of the hatch to man the 88, crossing the bow and putting a few shells into the bridge. She was burning and sinking not 10 minutes later. Starting to run low on ammunition for the 88mm, I ordered that this would be the last of our targets. And with a heavy sea mist rolling in, this also protected us from any further fire. But it's safe to say that the Allies abandoned these guys. I put that down mainly to the fact that they think there were a lot more U-boats than there actually were. And as a final goodbye, we launch a few star shells to show that we've finished for the day. Making preparations for the long journey back to Wilhelmshaven. And so we arrive back home, 4 days later, victorious and yet somber in the loss of one of our comrades. BDU were extremely impressed with the success of our foray into the Atlantic, and every member of our crew received an award. With myself being awarded the German Cross in Gold, a newly established award. With quite the resume and quite the report to write, managing to sink 43,563 gross registered tons and making world news by sinking the HMY Alexandra, which is one of the cargo ships that we explored earlier that I wasn't happy with. And the Vicolite, the Empire Voice, the Empire General, the Empire Warrior, the Empire Mermaid, the Empire Valham, the Empire Manor, the Empire Gunner, our target, and the Empire Camp. And also a token Canadian ship in the Waterloo. So at 15 days at sea, and an entire convoy added to our resume. We did take survivors home from the very last ship that we attacked, but that was more for intelligence than philanthropy. After the trials and tribulations of this mission and the successes, I found it righteously prudent that the rest of the team get to have a holiday. I spent some time looking through the brochures. I thought that it was probably good for the team to go home to the fatherland and probably get a chance to speak to their adored boss. So I sent them on their way. Enjoy your 14 days away. And honor Tom, because he earned it. I'm left with a somber mood and an empty ship. My thoughts, my plans, and my strategies. Just the way I like it. But my most important thing I have to do is I need to write a letter. Tom's family need to know what happened. Until next time, Commander Tyrael, out.